Welcome to the Natural History Cupboard. Come on in.
And welcome back to the Natural History Cupboard podcast, the place where the weird and wonderful parts of the natural world come together. I'm your host, Gareth, and with me, as always, is my co-host, Aaron, but also back with us as well is Drew.
Hello.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thanks.
Explain your presence here.
Yourself.
Yeah.
I always feel that with a podcast, you should just use a few words as necessary.
That's fair. Especially if it's the audio.
Especially if it's the audio version, yeah. So I'm not going to say much.
Well, that should be
It
should be an interesting episode. Well, we should explain why there's three of us here for a start. Because this episode is coming out on is it World Rainforest Day? World Rainforest Day.
Yes.
So yes, we are doing a trio of rainforests from around the world. So should we launch into it?
We should delve in
Delve
with our machetes through the thickets.
We're going full explorer style,
We
pith
need-
helmets and everything.
You can have your pith helmet. I'll stick to my khakis and stuff, which I'm not wearing. I mean, the
No, I know.
There we go.
I'm actually wearing khakis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll stick to your khakis.
You can't see them.
You can't see them.
You can't see them, but yeah.
I'm
They're there.
going in with a digger.
A digger.
Yeah.
That's the way
I
it
want a
should
nice
be done,
white.
obviously.
Yeah. Anyway, let's get into it.
Full accessible.
It's the creature feature.
So we're going to start things off. We're going to look at, well, what I described the other week as the sort of the beginner rainforest, the one that most people are probably most familiar with. It's the Amazon rainforest.
Basic bit rainforest. I know you can't keep that in.
What can I say? I'm basic. But yeah, I mean, it's often seen as the go-to obvious example. Usually, if it's some sort of news story or something, they'll show one or two Amazonian animals, and then they'll probably throw something else in there that's not even close to being South American, something like a chimp or something. So yeah,
Kookaburra and soundtrack.
oh yes, definitely, yeah.
Notice how with all the Amazon documentaries they never feature neon tetras in them.
No, but I think you might have a bias.
Absolute crime.
So
Oh no, I'm with you on that.
no, I agree. There should be more on tetras and more on the smaller fish and that are in the Amazon.
Maybe they should just link your episode every time.
I think they should.
Every time they go to an Amazon river,
I think
they
so.
go,
And
if you
pay
want
us
to find more,
royalties.
go to this guy.
You hear us, BBC. You know what you need to do.
Yeah.
Make up for walking with dinosaurs.
Pay up.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on. So the Amazon rainforest is often referred to as the lungs of the planet. It's one of the Earth's most vital and awe-inspiring ecosystems. It spans over 5.5 million square kilometers. That's roughly 2.1 million square miles. It's the largest tropical rainforest in the world, and it stretches across 9 countries in South America: Brazil, Peru, Colombia, Venezuela, Ecuador, Bolivia, Guyana, Suriname, and French Guiana.
I should have made that a song.
I know, but I'm not good at that. So Brazil alone holds about 60% of this vast forest. It is essentially a sea of trees full of life. So the Amazon is home to roughly 390 billion individual trees, divided into roughly 16,000 species, from towering giants like the Brazil nut and the kapok tree dominating the canopy. But it's not just a forest of plants. It's a sanctuary for life up and down these trees. Think of it like a vertical ecosystem. So the Amazon supports about 10% of all known species on the planet. There are around 2.5 million insects, over 1,300 bird species, 430 mammal species, 400 amphibians, and more than 3,000 species of fish living within its watery veins, and quite often during the flood season in amongst its dense foliage as well.
Including neon tetras.
Yeah. Just going to have to do a count on how many times you say neon tetra now. So
We can have a little counter.
yeah,
It can be like that. A little counter, neon tetra
And they can
counter.
make it into a drinking game, and the more drunk they get, the more tolerable our podcast becomes.
Oh, dear.
Exactly. Yes. So
All
every time we've just said neon tetra now, you need to add to the counter.
Yeah.
Whoever's editing this.
that would be me. Yeah.
Yeah. So more neon tetras on the things.
Anyway, the origins of the Amazon River trace back at least 55 million years
What's
ago.
in the Amazon River? Is it neon tetras?
Neon
It's
tetras.
neon tetras. Put that up there. Oh, we just said it about 3 times.
I hate you both. Which is about 10 million years after the extinction event that wiped out the non-avian dinosaurs. It's at a point where South America and Africa are splitting apart in their tectonic plates. It's still an island at this point on its own, but it's one of the most fascinating geological events that happened around 10 million years ago that give us the Amazon that we know today. The Amazon actually reversed its course. Originally, it flowed westwards into the Pacific, but it was the uplift of the Andes Mountains that actually blocked its path and eventually redirected it eastward into the Atlantic, forming the modern drainage basin that we see today. Oh, honestly. So the Amazon rainforest is literally a vertical world. Are you all right there? Sorry. Come back down to earth. The Amazon is structured into distinct layers, each with its own ecosystem and inhabitants. Think an onion or Shrek. He's been holding it in as much as he can.
He has been holding it. For people watching and listening, we have already recorded this thing once. Sharon's already heard of that joke once before.
But he was laughing harder than he did.
Himself for it.
Trying to not laugh at whilst also not laugh at Trojan both in there.
Which also didn't make it into the edit as well. Anyway, at 60 meters in height, the emergent layer is where the tallest trees pierce through the canopy and dominate above, acting as little islands in amongst a sea of trees. This is home to harpy eagles, where they'll make their nests and also hunt from. Macaws will also use this as perching on their way to different areas of the forests and finding Brazil nuts high up in Brazil nut trees, which will be the ones that dominate a lot of these areas. Nothing to say about Brazil nuts?
Not say the word.
They're covered in chocolate.
Yeah, according to Aaron. So below this, we've got the canopy layer at about 30 to 45 meters in height. It forms a dense roof that absorbs most of the sunlight, and it's home to howler monkeys, sloths, toucans, tree frogs, you name it. This is a dense layer of foliage that is in itself its own miniature ecosystem, and some species will never set foot on the ground and stay their entire lives in this area.
So you asked me to draw you a bold Urucari monkey.
Yeah.
You didn't even mention it.
Sorry, I completely forgot.
Rub it out, right?
Well, this is where you will find Urucaris, the English monkey, although some also call them the Dutch monkey as well.
Oh, yeah.
So
I find that really funny. I think some people might find it offensive, but I think it's really funny.
I don't know. You go to any seaside town in Britain, right? Anyway, that was a
tangent.
Yeah, tangent there. So
informative, though.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So the understory layer is below this at 5 to 10 meters in height. It's dim and humid. This area is rich in vines and young trees, waiting for their moment, waiting for that moment for hopefully one of their neighbors to keel over and die.
But no, importantly, at this level, there is no neon tetras and no chocolate-coated Brazil nuts.
Only if they've got very lost.
Mm.
Yeah.
One neon tetra, two neon tetra, three. Needs to go on the counter.
It's going to be raining down from the trees. So in this layer, you're going to find jaguars, boa constrictors, poison dart frogs, so stuff that can climb a bit, but is not above the sort of 5 to 10 meters. Although seeing a jaguar 10 meters above you would be kind of terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
So on the forest floor, which is where you'd find me, because I'm not very much for heights, this is dark and teeming with decomposing material, fungi, insects. It's basically where all of the roots of the trees are going to be anchoring themselves into some pretty weak soil. Most rainforests have a very thin layer, and certainly the Amazon does, a very thin layer of usable soil. And below that, it's thick red clay that is of no use to anyone. So whenever you see forest that's been cut down, you quite often see that the ground is red or orange in color. And that's essentially where all the usable soil has been scraped clear whilst material and machinery has gone through there. And it's ruined that area. The trees will not grow in that clay. It's pretty much useless. A bit like my garden, actually. There's about a centimetre's worth of usable soil and then thick, solid clay. So Species that you'll find here, well, pretty much anything that can't climb. You'll find armadillos, tapirs, leaf cutter ants as well, maintaining the understory for how they want it to be as well.
What armadillos are in the rainforest?
Giant armadillo, I believe, which is by far one of the oddest sort of armadillos, certainly the biggest. So
that's another chocolate.
What, armadillo?
Crunchy on the outside, soft and chewy on the inside.
Yeah, that's another chocolate.
That's a very niche reference that only people in the UK will get. So one of the Amazon's most extraordinary events that happens is its seasonal flooding, caused by snowmelt high up in the Andes Mountains and heavy rainfall as well. For several months, the rivers will swell and flood up to 100,000 square kilometers of forest, turning trees into aquatic sanctuaries. And this flood pulse is essential for dispersing nutrients, seeds, and also for spawning fish. And in fact, some species rely entirely on this yearly flood to kick off their breeding season. Now, in amongst all of this, you're going to find that
Neon tetras.
Neon tetras, there you go. I've said it.
That's three of them.
Will be in amongst what is the understory of the trees. You'll find fish all throughout these areas, like piranhas, neon tetras. Also,
I think when you say neon tetras, it should be like a golden neon tetra. It should count as 3. So you do the math. You do the math somewhere.
Oh my god! Hunting all of these are going to be dolphins. The famous Amazonian river dolphins.
What, neon tetras? They're going to hunt.
Well, they may not hunt them; they're a bit small. But piranha, pacu,
go straight through the
arapaima. You never know. They're all going to be on the menu for a species like that, which will quite happily take advantage of these new hunting grounds throughout this time of the year.
Riparian apex predator, isn't it?
Yeah. So despite the grandeur, the Amazon is under severe threat. I mean, it's probably something you didn't need to know because you're probably already aware of it. At least I'd hope so. An estimated 10,000 square meters, about 2.5 acres, are destroyed every minute. Click the fingers.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. Got that.
We did it the first time around.
So in another minute, please. Mainly due to illegal logging, mining, agriculture, infrastructure development, and around 13 million hectares are lost annually. A huge amount. And this is down to all sorts of government corruption. Thankfully, Bolsonaro is no longer in power there, but it doesn't take much, as we've seen of late, for one person to come in and change an awful lot at a governmental level. So to give you an idea of how much 13 million hectares being lost annually is, it's roughly equivalent to 32 million football pitches, or 6 times the size of Wales. Wales is approximately 2 million hectares. Wow. So a huge area of forest is lost every single year. If you live in Wales, you'll probably be aware of how big Wales is, how many football pitches are in Wales, and how much of that should be covered in forest. And yeah, let's, like you said earlier, let's cover all the football pitches and trees.
Yeah, you don't need 32 million football pitches, so we don't need one, to be honest. Cover it all in rainforest,
even if it's in the middle of Wales.
I think that's probably 2.
Yeah. So this relentless loss has severely impacted the biodiversity, the carbon storage as well, and global climate. However, efforts are underway all the time to protect the Amazon. Protected areas and indigenous territories are now covering nearly half of the Amazon basin. Governments, NGOs, and local communities are promoting sustainable forest management, reforestation, ecotourism, international pacts and climate agreements, also pressuring for stronger enforcement against illegal and legal deforestation. So the Amazon itself is not just a wonder, a pretty sight, but it's a crucial and critical lifeline for Earth's biodiversity and climate stability. Its complex history and ancient origins, as well as its the fact that the river has not stayed in the same place over that time, and vertical habitats underscore its uniqueness. Protecting it isn't just about saving the trees or its animals, it's about preserving a living system that supports all life on the planet, making it not just the vanilla, the baseline rainforest. It is its own entity, which deserves respect.
No, I kind of already said this in take 1, but but the last week I was asking why like the Amazon is the go-to for everyone. And then we mentioned about why it might be to do with the fact that everyone does the documentaries there. I think you've given a good argument as to why. It is a fascinating place, and of course it has
Neon Tetris.
neon tetras, chocolate coated Brazil
I was
nuts.
wondering when that would come back up
I thought
again.
you were going to say
No.
that straight off.
And of course, there's a bird of prey that eats primates. So, good stuff there,
Yeah.
and a big cat.
Yep. So your final Tetra score is?
Ding, 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 ding.
I haven't counted it up, so it's whatever I've just put up there.
Yeah.
So shall we move into our next rainforest?
Yeah, let's do it.
I was wondering, let's do it.
Right, well, for my forest feature this week, I suppose, should be called,
Hmm.
we're going to take quite a long flight
From the Amazon.
or from a nearby airport, not necessarily
Somewhere
straight
in
direct from the
Brazil,
Amazon
yeah.
to Kuala Lumpur, and then we're going to head north.
Nice.
Which way round are we going?
Probably best to go over the Pacific, isn't it? Like, oh no, I don't know actually.
I think
Dunno.
it'd be best over the Pacific.
Yeah, but
I mean, who's the
Pacific
captain?
is larger than anyone ever considers, isn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway,
I don't know, but I do like you bringing back in it.
in it.
Yeah.
did I say?
you hear it on the recording.
Oh dear. What? What you go? I do try to keep down with the up to date lingo.
It's up to date, yeah.
So we're going to fly on over to Kuala Lumpur, and then we're going to travel north, probably by coach on some pretty rough roads, from my experience. And I'm going to give you a quick briefing on some history.
Mhm.
So on December 17th of 1872, former Lord Mayor of Liverpool, Joseph Hubbock, would welcome into the world his second son, Theodore Rathbone Hubbock. Guys, have you ever heard of this chap before?
No, Rathbone is
but
great.
that's a brilliant name, Rathbone.
Rathbone, yeah.
Name, isn't it?
It's very Norse.
Yeah.
Well, I thought you might know of him because he has a bovid, a cow named after him, the Selangdang, or Malayan Gaur, Bos Gaurus Habaki. No,
Is the Malayan Gower different to like
The normal
one?
I
Or
don't
is it a
think it's,
subspecies?
I think it's a subspecies, but I don't
Okay.
think there's much in it, really.
Okay.
But actually, his importance to this evening's feature, the forest feature as it is that over the course of 1938 and 1939, he established the first Malayan national park, naming it the King George V National Park in honour of the British monarch at the time. This would later be renamed Taman Negara after Malaya gained independence and became what we now call Peninsular Malaysia on August 31st, 1957. The name the park would be given, as I say, Taman Negara, literally translated into national park.
Oh.
Yeah. National park.
Yeah.
It's a bit Golden Eagle.
Exactly. There.
Yeah.
He established what we now call Taman Negara, which should actually be, I'm going to keep pronouncing it Negara out of habit, but it's actually Nagara, by pitching to sultans to set aside land that covered their respective states of Kelantan, Pahang, and Terengganu, in order to form a protective area. And in that way, it's quite different to the Amazon, because this stretch of this rainforest, this area of this rainforest, is actually somewhat protected. Whereas the Amazon, when we talk about the Amazon, as you have,
Very hard to protect.
Yeah.
That being said, it's surrounded by chaos and threats from the outside. So everything that isn't in Taman Negara as it stands right now is at threat of deforestation for obviously palm oil plantations, but also gold mining, logging, and of course, even in Taman Negara, there's poaching. So just a couple really brief anecdotes from my time in a very, very short time in Taman Negara. Poachers, I mentioned there. When I was on poacher treks, we had to jot everything down that we found on GPS. We found poacher camps. We found armories, basically what you would call an armory, where they kind of store their weapons and their ammunitions, and also their food that they take in there. We also found poacher traps such as pangolin snares and shotgun shells. Every time we found some of these, we had to jot this on GPS, and it got sent off to conservation agencies and government agencies.
I have an important question.
Mhm.
In their food, did they have either chocolate Brazil nuts or armadillos?
There were neither.
I'm
And
not
they didn't
counting
see
them
the
after
food.
this. It's not my thing.
There was no food.
You don't have
Actually,
to. We
there.
haven't said neon tetra.
No
Oh.
dried
Wait.
neon.
Is that counted gone now?
I think
Yeah,
the
it's
count has
gone.
gone. Well, yeah.
Unless you want to.
So it's up to you.
Yeah.
We can keep it going. No, I didn't find any food. We found the evidence of a food
Oh, I
spike,
see. Okay. Right.
and we only know that because of how the shelter was constructed and stuff. But we never actually found actual food. Other things that I saw whilst I was out there, probably the most heartbreaking thing, and it gave me nightmares for 3 months straight afterwards, and it still upsets me to this day. We're in Tamil Nagara, obviously, and one of the guides took me away from the group to show. The other two were kind of more touristy related. They were doing it just as something to do
He
on the
thought
gap
it's
year.
sky of the life.
I was
Yeah.
yes, very much so. I was more involved to an extent, but only because I guess I showed initiative because
Initially, yeah.
I'm into tigers. I was a zookeeper. I was there to learn conservation, so they did a lot of extra stuff with me. He took me off the track, and we walked for about maybe 5-ish, 10-ish minutes. Not very far.
Yeah.
But all you could see was just 2 meters in front of your face, thick brush. And then finally, he pulled down a branch, and what you thought was just a continuation of thick brush, down, nothing. As far as the eye could see, absolutely nothing. Reddish soil again, so clay. And smouldering tree trunks that had been cut down, machines working, honestly, as far as your eyes can see. It was destruction and extinction on a level I've never experienced, and on a level that you cannot get from like these Facebook posts that you find around.
Yeah.
So yeah, very different from similar problems, but very different. That area of the rainforest is quite well protected. I think in the years between 2019 and 2024, there were 28 seizures of animal trafficking products. So what they're doing isn't perfect, but there are elements that are working, and it's a good kind of test for conservation and protection of rainforests, because you kind of see where the gaps are and where the strengths are in the whole process. Anyway, in truth, the rainforest already established in this region that the sultans gave over was ancient. At more than 130 million years old, it is arguably the second oldest rainforest on Earth, the oldest being Daintree in Queensland, Australia. Located in east central Malaysia, it spreads over 4,343 kilometers squared, split into 3 regions. So you have Taman Negara Pahang, which is 2,477 kilometers squared, Taman Negara Kelantan, which is 1,043 kilometers squared, and then Taman Negara Terengganu, can't say that word, which is 853 kilometers squared. Each of those 3 are governed separately by regional legislation, but the details between the 3 are by and large the same or similar. This expanse encompasses the oldest part of the landmass, thriving atop ancient sedimentary rock formed by particle deposits laid down over vast stretches of time, and sprawling across cavernous valleys, rolling hills, and the rugged Tahan mountain range, where the tallest mountain in Malaysia looms, Mount Tahan. This mountain reaches skywards up to 2,187 meters above sea level, making it one of the most noticeable landmarks for as far as the eye can see. And anyway, the mountain itself is appropriately central to the 3 states that worked to form the national park, with its base touching down in each of them. Despite being popular with climbers and hikers alike, the name means Forbidden Mountain.
Wow.
And it serves as a warning to all that this location presents some of the toughest conditions from across the peninsula. Despite the sheer diversity in elevation, around 57% of the national park is actually under 300 meters above sea level. So even though it's very hilly and mountainous, there's still quite a bit, like over half of it is lowland.
Yeah.
The park that stretches out from the central mountain is one of dense, lush greenery. It's mostly old-growth primary rainforest, untouched, unspoiled, and unexploited. Here thrives the eye-wateringly gorgeous peninsular Malaysian montane rainforest ecosystem, chock full of tropical and subtropical broadleafs. This habitat tends to favour elevations in the park over 1,000 metres above sea level, and is bordered at the lower levels by the very different peninsular Malaysian rainforest. Now, in the montane ecoregions, beech oaks, stone oaks, conifers, chinkapins, they all dominate, with some presence of trees belonging to the Myrtaceae family. A little further up the mountains, and you start to see ferns, lichens, orchids, and other similar species beginning to appear and kind of take hold. Here, amongst all this forestry, the mountainous regions see upwards of 250 bird species, as well as some of my favourite species from the location itself, such as tigers, elephants, sun bear, tapir, and clouded leopards, as well as gore and siaman. Taman Negara holds just 33% of Malaysia's entire montane biome. So there's not actually a great deal of that ecosystem that is actually protected.
Yeah.
If we move back down into that sub 1,000 metre above sea level rainforest biome I briefly mentioned, then we get into the moist broadleaf forest of the jungle. The rainforest we kind of imagine when we think of Malaysia, or for some indeed when we think of Asia. It's much wetter affair down here. Many parts are waterlogged or water-based, with both the mangroves existing on the edges of this biome and the swamps being located in the lowlands. Here, you will find plenty of flowering plants, but also 15,000 species of tree. Most commonly, those belong to the Burseraceae and the Sapotacea families. Sorry, Sapotacea families, I should say. The tallest of which stitching together an upper canopy reaching nearly 40 metres up. But the real crowning jewel of the canopy, the giant to dwarf all giants, is the Compassia excelsior, the tualang tree. Excelsior! Now, this is a tree that erupts through the emergent layer, growing to heights of almost 80 metres. And
now, what's sitting in those trees, like harpy eagle?
To be fair, I don't think there's anything that is harpy eagle like there to go up there, which is a shame because there are primates there to eat too. These godlike trees are among the tallest tropical tree species and are bee heaven. The branches grow above the upper canopy, and the bark below that is itself dead smooth. So there's no climbing up these trees.
Yeah.
So basically, the pesky sun bears can't climb them to reach the nests of the giant honeybees.
How are the bees as big as a harpy eagle?
No, but that would be cool.
Yeah, that would be
Buzz
good.
in and lick you away.
Yeah, huge things. Yeah.
Yeah, they just pick up a primate, cover it in pollen, and then take it to another.
And we're a massive larvae chew up like langur monkeys.
You've never really lived until you've tried honey-soaked primate.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That being said, the tree doesn't completely neglect the sun bears, as is standard for a tropical tree so tall. In places where the actual usable nutritious soil is so thin, the roots are huge. Flat buttresses, similar to the trees that you'll see in the Amazon, and similar to the trees that you'll find in Africa, where you'll find chimpanzees performing percussion demonstrations upon them. Here, though, I've seen firsthand how some bears have dug into the soil between these buttresses to create their own nests. So whilst they can't get the honey from the giant honeybee, which lives at the top, the tree keeps the sun bear sheltered down at the bottom. It's a really magical kind of location to just stumble across by accident in the jungle, and that was very cool.
They're also really fun to play on. I remember playing on them as a kid, not obviously in the Malaysian jungle, but
I was wondering, do you mean the buttresses or do you mean the bears?
Bears, yeah.
The bears.
In Adelaide, there's lots of big fig trees.
Yeah.
And they've got those same big buttresses in the botanical gardens. And those were the ones that it would be fun to just sort of jump over the buttresses.
Yeah.
Climb around on them. A lot easier to get up onto them as well.
Have you tried hitting them like
I can't remember if I did, but I probably did.
Because they do make a cool noise, yeah. So, luckily for this tree and for the bears and the bees that live amongst them, harvesting the tree in any way at all is actually a taboo among some, if not most, of the cultures around the area.
Mhm.
So these silent giants get to live and shelter bees and bears for as long as they can live, basically. A different tree that is harvested in some way from this same biome is the Epo tree, Antiaris toxicaria. Now, this is another humblingly tall tropical tree, and I had the privilege of meeting this in person whilst in Tamil. And whilst I didn't see it in action, the locals told me plenty of how it was used. The sap, or in this case, natural latex of the Epo tree is extremely poisonous. You know how much I like my venoms and toxins, and I'm
yes.
not just talking about Marvel
Big tall
symbiotes.
glass of poison.
Yeah. So here's a brief sort of summary of the joy this tree could bring you. It's mostly some very nasty cardenolides, like antiarin, a cardiac glycoside, that is more toxic than curare, which,
Nice.
if you're familiar with the Green Arrow, Batman, and I think Ra's al Ghul, you may recall that being really bloody nasty stuff. You'll begin with convulsions and muscle spasms. Your spine will be the center of attention, and you'll poop yourself excessively as you do this. You'll experience total body paralysis, and the toxin will begin to attack your heart, and then you will terminate your subscription to life via cardiac arrest.
Either that or just through absolute shame of like pooping yourself.
There is that
Middle
too,
of,
yeah.
of this as well.
Depending on the dilution ratio and the size of the victim, you're looking at 5 to 30 minutes between poisoning and death. So if you are in the middle of Tamil, that's not good. Not good
Sure,
at all. The Orang Asli tribes of Tamil use this wonderful substance in their hunting efforts, and they took me to the tree to show me and pointed out the scars on the bark where the latex had been tapped. Basically, the sap tap is drained into a bamboo vessel. In fact, bamboo is pretty widely used amongst these cultures. Consumption vessels such as cups were made of bamboo, as well as almost like a holder for like rice, or
Just
to
don't
even
mix the
steam
two
rice
up.
in it. No. As are the blowpipes, darts, and quivers. I also saw its uses as a building material too. So they use it for lots of things.
Lovely poisonous house.
No, this is bamboo.
Oh, the bamboo,
The
sorry.
bamboo.
Sorry.
Yeah, can you imagine that they make the
Yeah.
blowpipe out of the
Lovely.
poisonous tree? Anyway, they fill the bamboo vessel and then place it on an A-frame over an open fire where it hangs for about a week, slowly heating to avoid boiling over and cooking the toxins out. The poison is ready when the substance turns bitter and possesses a dark metallic colour. They then handed me the dart, luckily a freshly carved
You
one.
say it turns bitter. They must
They
know.
do taste tests.
They must. Okay.
Yeah, they do taste tests.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so they don't. If I remember right,
Is it a drawing straw
shouldn't go
sort of thing?
sweet. No, I don't know how that works, and I would never want to
Okay.
try that.
It's the
but-
work experience.
I was the only one that came back.
Yeah.
But yeah, apparently, if it goes sweet, then the poison's been spoiled.
Oh, okay.
Oh, well.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm just seeing like a cooking show for this now.
Yeah.
What we want to do is set aside this poison. It's some I made earlier.
Not that I need to clarify this, but the dart that they handed me had not been laced in the poison, because
Sure.
I'd very much not be sat here doing this right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, these darts are basically dipped in or laced with the poisonous sap before being loaded into a bamboo quiver. What I didn't know at the time, but have since discovered elsewhere during the research for this episode, is the other indigenous cultures in the area and in places where this tree grows, they apply these same techniques to arrowheads, and they dip the arrowheads in them and then often store them. And as long as they are carefully stored in optimum conditions, the poison will remain active for years. It can even be reconstituted if it does go off by mixing, I think it was snake venom.
Okay.
Or another poison can be mixed to it to reconstitute the
So,
quality.
get out your snake venom, and
Yep.
you can refresh those old darts of yours.
This is not an instructional video. This is their main hunting tool when their quarry is the local gibbon species, such as lar gibbon, agile gibbon, or indeed the siamangs. So I guess they don't need harpy eagles over there.
Well,
No.
Although I like gibbons, so
Well, clearly they like gibbon as well.
Yeah.
They do.
just 1 milligram is enough to end a large dog. So my interpretation of their explanations is that this would very much be something that would efficiently murk a gibbon for lunch. Again, I never saw this in action, wasn't invited to participate. And as much as I don't like working with primates, I do like them existing and enjoy seeing them
Sure.
and hearing them. So in the most culturally respectful way possible, it wasn't really my kind of thing anyway.
Sure.
But very cool to have it explained to me nonetheless, and be able to touch these things. Now, on the subject of the Orunasli, the Batek tribe. Whilst Orunasli means original man or original people in Malay, it actually covers several different tribes.
That's very arrogant.
And the original.
The original.
Yeah. I only have experience with the ones who refer to themselves as the Batek Te, meaning forest people. They are a nomadic tribe of hunter-gatherers whose home range once spanned the entire rainforest, but due to constant political, religious, and agricultural encroachment, they are now isolated to the Taman Negara. For the Batek Te, literally no one possesses anything save for the odd exclusion of a man's blowpipe or a woman's hair comb, both of which bamboo.
I thought you were going to say both of which
Poisoned.
highly poisoned.
Yeah.
Instead, everything they as a tribe have and anything they harvest belongs to the forest. As such, it is their moral obligation to share everything with the community. Now, whilst I was there, I saw them fishing with basically a makeshift string. What they do is they'd literally pull the worms out of the floor at the riverbank, hook it up to a makeshift hook, and literally they're just pulling them out. Like the easiest fishing I've ever seen in my life. Yeah, really impressive.
I've done that before with Rudd. Genuinely, just dipped it in and got 5. Yeah.
I remember as a kid trying to do it with gobies, and it's difficult.
Yeah.
So, also foraging. That there's so many like fruits out there that we have in like the kitchen that you just don't appreciate what their wild counterpart looks like.
Sure,
Mangoes that are tiny, like that big. Bananas that are small, like and straight and fat. Yeah. I can't remember what the berry was. Also in I can't remember the name of this, but there's a fruit out there that is only eaten one time, a certain time of year because it stinks.
Tyrant.
That's it. Yeah. Well, when they hunt, they never take anything from boar size up, as they deem this as the tiger's kill. There appears to be a belief, either in the form of reincarnation, where a person will cycle through life as a human and then as a tiger, or in the Haramau Jardin, which is basically were-tigers, which again is linked to ancestors, and so honouring those ancestors by behaving morally and for the good of the community is the best way forward.
I just interject there. Why are we using werewolves in mythology when were-tigers is a far better choice?
It's a pretty scary concept.
A were-tiger any day.
In either case, it would seem the hunting of targets of boar-sized prey or larger is tantamount to stealing food from your ancestors' plates, so it's a big no-no.
Okay.
This ensures a deep respect and will to protect the tiger, and through it all, the neighbouring jungle life. There are wonderful people whom I cannot possibly do justice here. I'm supposed to be talking about the forest anyway. They are constantly pushed and persecuted by the government or by government agencies trying to force upon them the assimilation into non-tribal Malay life, or by the Christians and Muslims who constantly come to their settlements and force them to build religious places of worship like mosques and churches against their wishes, which as soon as these people have left, by the way, the Batek Te basically board up and never use again. They don't even tend to use them as shelters, although one was being used as a classroom when I was there. Other than people, there are plenty of other species thriving in this part of the national park, including the Malayan tiger, which the Malay call Harimau Balan, which means the striped panther. They also call it Pak Balan, which means Uncle Stripes, which is a kind of cool name. The Indo-Chinese leopard, which the Malay call Harimau Bintan, or the starry panther. Interestingly, these don't tend to be, pardon the pun, but spotted in this region, with most, if not all, leopards south of the Thai-Malay border in modern times being what the Malay would call Harimau Kumbang. which is the black panther. Then you've got the clouded leopard, which is Haramal Belang Awang, which means cloud-striped panther, which again is a nice name.
Yeah.
Malayan sun bear, or Baruang Madu in Malay, meaning honey bear.
Yeah.
Asian elephant. Yes, it does. Asian elephant, which is the Gajah. Malayan tapir, or Badak tamping, which actually means rhinoceros.
Oh, they're on it then. They know their taxonomy.
They know, yeah. And also, that's actually a family that at least at one point the Sumatran rhino would have been here, but it's long disappeared, unfortunately. A quick run through of other species making Taman Negara their home. As I said, gore, several deer species, a couple of boar species, langurs, macaques, gibbons, and other primates. A few small cat species, such as the bay cats, leopard cats, and marble cats. You've got hornbills and woodpeckers in huge numbers. Unfortunately, I never saw a kingfisher. I would have loved to have seen kingfisher because there's some nice ones out there. Yeah. Mountain serpent eagles, Brahmini kite, and fish eagles. Also king cobras, Malay water monitors, as well as Dumeril's monitor lizards, reticulated pythons, estuarine crocodiles, and false gharials. I could go on. There's immense amount of biodiversity there. I didn't even cover the plants.
All the investments.
But I think I should wrap it up by saying that Peninsular Malaysia is stunningly beautiful, with a fascinating tribal culture and history to it, and an astonishingly biodiverse, but in both flora and fauna region that deserves the utmost protection and respect.
Very nice.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, obviously nice personal spin on that one as well.
Yeah.
I had a great time there. I really do love the place.
It doesn't come across.
No, not at all.
No.
You never talk about it.
Yeah. No.
Damn it. I got to admit, my only experience of Malaysia was, Singapore, and then flying.
That's not Malaysia.
I was going to say Singapore. Go on.
No.
I'm sorry. I see.
Starting off in Singapore,
right.
and then going, which was obviously, it's a massive metropolitan area.
Yeah.
But it's in that same region of the world, and then flying from Singapore to Kuala Lumpur, and then flying over what was just virgin rainforest in one area, and then just this stark difference, that line of just plantation, mile after mile after mile. And that, and the only real notable wildlife that I can remember seeing was an Asian water monitor at the side of the highway when we were driving into Kuala Lumpur, and then lots of Indian hill miners or brown miners, I think they were, that were all around the place.
Yeah, there's a lot of miners that I saw there as well. Yeah, this, because of my constant pop culture references, this is going to sound like I'm about to tell a joke, but I'm not. Do you remember the scene? It makes me jump every time I see it. In the very start of Terminator 2 Judgment Day, and you've got the kids are playing in the park, and then there's the bright flash, and then it's all skulls and stuff in the cars and everything.
Yeah.
The Terminator. So the nightmares I had when I came from Malaysia, it started literally a day or two after he showed me all that destruction. I had these dreams where the rainforest was just grey and brown and like dark colours, and there was fire everywhere, skulls of animals everywhere, burning animals. It was really disturbing, and this went on for a good 3 months afterwards. It was pretty intense. I used to wake up in sweats.
Yeah,
the horrible dream.
It sounds like a heavy metal video.
Yeah,
it doesn't. Does it? Yeah.
Were you hanging onto a chain link fence and then you explode at the end?
Or were you standing between two trees and screaming at it like Michael Jackson?
The Earth's on there. It's a deep cut.
That is a deep cut.
Anyway, I think we're flying over to another continent now.
Yeah,
I think so. So we've gone across the Pacific from Gareth to Aaron.
Yep.
We're coming back across the continents. Maybe we might go back across the Pacific and go all the way around the other way.
You could do.
Who knows? Who knows? It depends what the pilots, how they're feeling that day.
How much more than a day? I guess.
How much fuel is in the plane? And we're going back to little domestic arrivals.
Oh yeah,
because we are coming home, at least to the three of us, because we are going to be discussing the rainforest that we have right on our doorstep. So as I like to be an advocate for native species, I'm gone for home turf, my choice of rainforest, and I'm going to be covering our very own, the temperate rainforest.
Nice.
So it's one of the rarest types of rainforest in the world. So forget about what these guys have just said about there's rubbish. There's loads of it. Don't worry about that.
Let me guess. England are to blame for this?
Well, we'll get to that.
My question is, how many whales are lost?
I didn't look that up. So it's one of the rarest types of rainforest in the world, and I spend most of my days very close to, if not in one. So it's very personal to me. Obviously, both of you we're close to one right here in this studio.
There's one right there.
There's one right there, one right out there, past all the fields and the sheep that have destroyed it.
Shines through again.
You baited me into that one.
I see what you did there.
Yeah, you, yes. So before we veer into the UK, there are, of course, patches of temperate rainforest throughout the temperate areas of the world. I'm going to reel them all off. So you've got Japan, North and South Korea, parts of China, southern Australia, and Tasmania, which is pretty much all temperate rainforest. Most of New Zealand, Chile, the western and northwestern coast of Canada and the US, and a few regions of Europe, mostly in the west, but also parts of the Mediterranean and the Black Sea. You may think, oh, that's loads of temperate rainforest, but it is quite sporadic, dotted around all of these areas. This feature would take much too long to talk about all of them, though some of the details are the same for all of them. So I chose to keep it a little bit simple and familiar by focusing mainly on the UK southwest, which is where we obviously are, to dox ourselves again. In the UK, the biome is often called Atlantic rainforest or Celtic rainforest. I prefer the latter, but they are interchangeable. Have you guys got a preference? Celtic. We all like Celtic. There we go. So you can find Celtic rainforest on the west coast of Scotland, north and west Wales, Devon, Cornwall, Cumbria, and parts of Northern Ireland. So none of it's the size of Wales, because some of it's within it.
Wales.
A bit of it.
It's not a whole Wales.
It is not a whole Wales. So, for example, while I'm not going to cover all temperate rainforests, even within the UK, because I said I'll specify in the southwest, the location of each rainforest can influence the condition and species present. So the biodiversity of rainforests in the southwest England differ from those in northwest Scotland, for example. So, as an example, within an example, Scotland infamously gets billions of midges, which we don't have down here.
Thankfully,
so that's
in some ways.
Yeah, and obviously that's at the bottom level of your rainforest. So you think about everything that comes after all those midges. So yeah, quite a staggering difference between just the two of them, and they're relatively close. So first, a quick question to the two of you: when did you first hear the term temperate or Atlantic or Celtic rainforest? I don't mean to separate them out necessarily. I just mean when did you first hear that we do have rainforest here?
Here,
yeah.
I was going to say
in the UK.
When I heard temperate,
yeah,
my first thought was Australia.
Okay, yeah,
like
yes.
Tasmania.
So yes,
and that would have been 2000
years ago.
3, yes.
Yeah.
The terminology,
yeah,
temperate, I don't know, long time
ago.
Same with Atlantic rainforest. Celtic rainforest is slightly newer to me. I would say hearing that actually named the Celtic rainforest is actually
relatively new.
Maybe within the last 5 years for me, which is kind of embarrassing. Yeah. But knowing that this place was rainforest, that I can't remember either.
No. So I assume it's been a thing for a while, as in it's been part of general knowledge for a while, and it's perhaps the conservation and rewilding lobby that has brought it into the forefront. But I admit I'd only heard about the term, I think particularly Atlantic and Celtic rainforest, probably less than 10 years ago, not that long ago. Yeah. And it always seemed to me for a long time that the rainforest was always an exotic term and something that's not on your doorstep. So it's
like coral reefs.
My own ignorance, really. I wasn't as familiar with it as certainly as I am now. And it is, like I say, due to the rewilding and conservation lobby, it's something that's spoke about all the time now. But yeah, I was just curious as to, you guys were ahead of me, clearly. But yeah, I talk to people about it now, and it seems most are aware of it, which is good, because that's always the first step into conserving a thing. People need to know about it. So what makes a temperate rainforest? Well, if you have a broadleaf or coniferous forest in the temperate zone, or somewhere between the poles and the tropics, and it receives heavy rainfall, it's likely to be a temperate rainforest. I'm making them sound really common, again, but they're not. The moist conditions of these types of forests allow for a lot of greenery, a lot of invertebrates, and thus a lot of species that feed on those invertebrates, as we were talking about with the midges. In fact, temperate rainforests are one of the most biodiverse habitats in the UK. They are dominated by oak, birch, ash, pine, and hazel. A key characteristic that sets temperate rainforests apart is the presence of epiphytes. That's a technical term for a plant that grows on another plant without harming them. So things like mosses and ferns. And also a plethora of fungi, which loves the moist. And notable for a temperate rainforest are lichens in particular. So lichens are an interesting one. I don't know much about them beyond that they're a symbiotic hybrid between fungi and algae. Do you guys know much about lichens?
I know that is basically what reindeer eat.
What reindeer? I knew you were going to say that. Yeah.
Ultraviolet.
Yeah.
And obviously
That's the reindeer, not the
lichen.
The lichen don't see an ultraviolet.
No.
They pick it out because they can see elements of the ultraviolet spectrum. But also, I know that in my forest feature,
Yes,
we mentioned lichens in the
We did.
montane region.
yes,
So I know that too.
you know that.
Also, they're very colourful
Yeah.
Yeah,
in a
Yeah.
pale pastel.
in a pale pastely kind of way. Yes,
So you
yes.
can have like greys and whites and greens and browns. Like, and
That's it.
I was actually just thinking, like, has anyone ever, as in any of the three of us, I've not, but like used a black light on a lichen?
Not
No.
on a lichen.
Just-
I've gone looking
just
for.
Do you have a black light?
I've
I
got
don't
one somewhere.
No, no. But you have got one.
Yeah.
Have
Oh,
you?
yeah.
It might be worth trying that.
Yeah.
Sorry to derail that.
No,
no,
I was just
sorry.
thinking because reindeer can see maybe.
No.
There we go.
We're not
There we go.
making a reindeer.
Well, there it is.
There it is.
Reindeer.
I mean, I don't know
Start the
much.
reindeer counter.
But yeah, as I said, I don't know very much about lichens myself. But whilst I do know very little about them and fungi in general, I would be doing temperate rainforests a disservice to not give a brief overview of them. So I've done a little bit of research myself. So they absorb nutrients through the air, and they're good air quality indicators as they're sensitive to pollution. So a lot of lichens means you've got a good quality air, and quality air is one of the only things the capitalists haven't tried to sell us
Yet.
yet. Yes, so we need our lichens. They keep the capitalists away. So they're also great microhabitats, shelter and food for invertebrates, and they cycle carbon and are good for water retention. So tree lungwort is one of the few lichens with a common name, which suggests it was once widely known and common, but are only found in old woods in the west of the UK, and are good indicators not only that you're in a temperate rainforest, but you're in an ancient woodland. So if you can see tree lungwort, you're likely in a temperate rainforest, if not an ancient woodland. So it's called tree lungwort because it resembles the tissue inside our lungs, and it was historically thought to be a remedy for lung disease.
I love the fact that
kind of makes sense.
somebody has gone, that looks like the inside of someone's lung.
Yes.
They obviously had to get to that point of cutting people open to compare it.
Yes,
to,
I considered that as well. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, this looks like a spleen wart.
Yes.
Or a kidney wart.
Pancreas wart. Yeah. So moving up the food chain from lichens are other specialists of the Celtic rainforest and ancient woodland. One of these is an animal that you might not expect to be that fussy, which is a slug. Slugs notoriously not very fussy, but this one is the ash black slug, which at up to 25 centimeters long is the largest land slug in the world. So we've got the biggest slug, guys.
I've seen one of them.
Oh, have you?
Yeah.
Oh, where?
At Whistling Pound.
Really?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well,
That's
an
cool.
ash black slug, not just a black slug.
No, Ash. Yeah.
Oh, really? Did it have the white keel? Oh, okay.
That's cool.
All right. I was testing you.
I
I'm testing you to see what you've seen.
spent ages lying down on the ground looking at this slug.
Oh, okay.
And people passing me by with their dogs probably thinking, what the hell is he doing?
What are you
this-
doing down there? It's an ash black.
Yes. Well, this made this feature rubbish because that's not even a temperate rainforest.
Oh, I know.
I need to scrap all of this. But yes, so anyway, it is the biggest land slug in the world, and they are widespread around the UK. But they are very picky with their habitats. They come out of deadwood hides at night, and they eat mainly lichen, but also mosses and algae. We should also talk about their mating habits, obviously.
Should we? Of course.
We absolutely should. Because if you guys didn't tune in to hear about slug fornication, what are you here for, honestly? So ash black slugs are hermaphrodites. Excellent. They have both male and female sex organs, but they do need another slug to complete this process. So basically, they climb up into the treetops. They leave a trail of scented slime for another slug to follow. And then once together, They twist together and they hang suspended from a tree branch, secured only with their own mucus. It's beautiful, isn't it? Their penises, which are as long as their bodies, excellent, then entwine and they fertilize each other. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's nature.
That's colourful.
That's colourful.
When it comes to reproduction in odd but interesting ways, the slugs have got it and the snails have got it as well.
Yeah.
It's either that or love darts.
Love darts. Yeah.
Just pierce each other with some calcified sperm.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think entwining penises is much less aggressive.
Well, I think the octopus is a
special breeding art.
One that tears it off.
Is it? Yeah.
Can't be bothered.
It's yours now.
But unfortunately for our slugs, this seductive slime trail can sometimes attract unwanted attention, not from other slugs. They are on the menu for lots of things, but there is one creature which is a slug predating specialist, and it's also reliant on Celtic rainforest. And this is the blue ground beetle.
Very cool.
So they're considered extinct, they were considered extinct in the UK, until they were rediscovered in 1994. The metallic blue ground beetle are found in 15 sites across Devon, Cornwall, and South Wales. They are our largest ground beetle, so largest slug, largest ground beetle, and they're one of our rarest. They're very well travelled. They potentially move about 25 metres, which is the equivalent of us walking several kilometres, across the forest floor to find prey, and it's often slugs. So once they find a slug, they grab hold of it with their large pincers and they inject digestive juices into it that turns the innards of the slug into a lovely smoothie.
Mm-hmm.
Nature. There we go. We've had had fornication, and now we've had smoothied inside.
Smoothie predation.
Lovely.
Well, if you're going to eat something with no bones.
Well, exactly.
Doesn't get in the way.
Yes. If you're interested in learning more or helping with the blue ground beetle, you can check out the Dartmoor Blue Ground Beetle Project and report any sightings to BugLife, where you can find an identification guide.
I thought for a moment that you were going to go into if you've been affected by any of the issues raised in you.
Yes. But I do also feel free to get in contact with BugLife as well if you have been affected by any of these true aforementioned issues. But yeah, you can find identification guides. They look very similar to the violet and ridged violet ground beetle, but they're blue. There we go. Identification covered. So the ashback slug and the blue ground beetle are just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to invertebrates living in these wet forests. And when you've lots of invertebrates, you attract lots of creatures that predate on them. So perhaps notable are the birds, and here we're going to get into flycatchers. So flycatchers are a rainforest staple and are so good at what they do, it is literally their name. There are 357 species of old world flycatcher. Aaron, in the rainforest that you've covered, how many of those 357 flycatchers do you reckon you've got?
Wow. You think you're catching me out, but I have a very strong no idea about this.
That's good to know.
I know about the Malayan blue flycatcher.
Yes,
or at least I knew of it about 10 minutes ago.
Yes,
I said about it.
I did, yes, because I drew it for you.
And presumably there are robins in there, which I learnt 10 minutes ago. There must be some type of robin over there, I'm sure.
Yep. I don't have a list of all of yours.
That's all right, because I don't either.
No, you've got 41 of them.
41.
41 of 357 you've got. That includes obviously the Malaysian blue flycatcher, which we've got here. There he is. Here's what we did earlier. Although a lot of them are blue, so it's really hard to narrow down the Malaysian blue flycatcher. I picked that one literally because I picked that one because it's got Malaysia in the name. And the one you'll like perhaps because you love Star Wars, the dark-sided flycatcher.
Oh yes. Carries around a red lightsaber. It does. That's how you can tell it apart from
it's brown. It's just got dark sides.
Do you know what I thought? There might be some irony in the name in there where the blue flycatchers are all blue, so the dark side would be a red
one. Yeah.
But no.
Its nest in sort of a Death Star.
It's like a ball shape. Like the what's the Weaver or what it is? Yeah. Yeah, but no, fair enough.
No, it's just brown with dark brown on it.
Brown.
Yeah. Gareth, moving on to you. Your rainforest is, of course, in the New World. So you have different flycatchers. You don't have our flycatchers. So New World flycatchers, which superficially resemble Old World flycatchers, but aren't related, like almost New World, Old World convergence, are called tyrant flycatchers.
I like the sound of that.
That does sound cool.
How many species do you reckon there are of tyrant flycatchers?
And this is the whole of
This is
New
across
World.
all of the New World. Yeah, I couldn't narrow this down just to the Amazon.
63.
63 species. Actually, 447.
Yeah, I know.
I knew that.
You knew that.
I
You
didn't know that.
Look that up. It's actually more than the old world flycatchers. There are more of them. But yeah, like I said, that's across all of the Americas. I struggled to narrow it down to how many can be found just in the Amazon specifically, but we can assume probably a lot of them.
Hmm.
Of those 447 are in the Amazon.
Can I ask about the flycatchers?
Yeah.
Why are the New World ones called tyrant? Like, what's like?
I don't
Is
know.
there something different about the behavior?
I didn't.
That's what I'm saying. Like, not tyrannical as such, but
Well,
is there a
that's where the word
behavior
comes
difference?
I don't know. I didn't look that up.
That's fair.
So one of your notables, Gareth, in the Amazon are the two royal flycatchers, which have a crest they can display.
So put them on there.
There he is. Wow! Oh wow! What a beautiful bird. They can display into this large orange crown with a black border. It's like a big orange fountain or a more elaborate sideshow bob.
I like it. Yeah.
Or as you were saying, it was before, like a sideways on hoopoe.
Yeah, they're just twisted
They're
his head
just
around.
twisted. However, they display it very rarely.
Mm.
They've got this elaborate crest and they rarely do anything with it. So,
Well, they don't want to show off.
no, they don't want to show off. No, it's a very humble tyrant flycatcher, yeah. But anyway, the sheer number of different flycatchers, Old World and New World, you can do all the maths of adding all those up together if you like. I didn't. They all behave similarly. They usually catch insects on the wing, and they normally inhabit a rainforest of some variety. But this goes a long way to showcase the richness of the food chain in rainforests, especially invertebrates, that it allows this diversity of birds that all pretty much do the same thing. There's lots of food there. So coming back around to our Celtic rainforests, how many flycatchers do you think we have in the UK of those 357?
This is either going to be something really high, or it's going to be
I'm
depressingly low.
Going with between 8 and 16.
8 and 16.
Okay, I'll narrow it down. 8 and 14.
Yeah.
Let's go blackjack. We'll go 21.
21.
Yeah.
9.
9.
You say it's depressingly low, but obviously we're not quite as diverse here as a tropical environment. But the 9 flycatchers, though,
That's not bad.
all for us. Can you name any of them or all of them?
Other than the robin.
I was going to say, I'm not
Pied flycatcher.
Yeah.
I think that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nope.
No.
No.
I'm gonna. I didn't write it down. It's not on. You can see it. And it's not on the screen.
Oh.
I'm going to try to see if I can name all of them. So you've got obviously the European robin. You've got the pied flycatcher.
Yeah.
You've got the common redstart, the black redstart, the stone chat, the wind chat. I didn't say the spotted flycatcher.
No.
It's like the pied one. Where are we on? We're on 7. There's 2 more.
See, it's the problem. If they're not called flycatcher, I've not
No.
recognised them inside of that as what they were.
The sort of stone chat down Woolwich.
The wheatear, northern wheatear. I can't remember what the last one is. I can't remember what the last one is. I've done 8. I've done 8.
Isn't there another kind of wheat here?
Not that we have, no. But wheatears are flycatchers. I'm fairly sure. But there are potentially 10 if you include the blue throat, which occasionally visits. But yeah, so all of these flycatchers are either found in or near temperate rainforests, although some are a little bit less fussy. 2 I want to mention, that we have kind of briefly mentioned because we've listed them, are the European flycatcher and the common redstart. They're a different genre, but they're part of the larger flycatcher family, Muscacapidae. Which also includes our European robin that I covered in our very first Christmas episode. That's the less fussy one that I mentioned because obviously robins are everywhere. They're not exclusive to just temperate rainforest. So the quick and agile pied flycatcher is migratory. They come to us from Africa to breed. The males are its namesake. They're black and white, and the females are light brown. Their rhythmic and melodious song should be a mainstay in our Celtic rainforests, and they do have a large distribution, but sadly pied flycatchers are on a downward trend. It has slowed from a very steep decline at the turn of the century, but it is still dropping. It's a similar story for the common redstart, a very pretty little bird. They look very similar to a robin. Do you know what redstart means? You review. Red means red.
Yeah.
You can take that.
Is it going to be starling?
Nope.
No.
I think I'm wrong, but I was going to go with its legs.
Oh, you're
This
close.
is something to do with it, like its kind of locomotion.
Yeah, you're close. So start comes from an Old English word, probably a Saxon word, which is sturt, and it means tail.
Ah.
So you're close with the legs. It basically means red tail, despite it having a big red breast. They went, it's got a red tail. The black redstart doesn't have the red breast, but it does have the red tail.
As I say, I saw some red starts. Where was that to?
I've not seen any, so I'm very jealous. I know where some are.
It's up on Exmoor. I can't remember where it was.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very nice. But yeah, so the male looks a bit like a robin, but with a black face. They are in decline as well, albeit less so than the pie flycatcher. But if the habit itself is in decline, we shouldn't be surprised. But there is a little bit of good news. Much of our remaining Celtic rainforest is protected. It's in the hands of NGO charities and organisations. They support local communities with ecotourism, wildlife watching, and escapism. It's good for your mental health to get out into particularly an area like that, which is you won't hear any cars or anything at all. It's just a lovely little forest. There are a number of funds available to these NGOs to help with the research management, natural expansion of the forest, invasive plant control like rhododendron. Deer management, as they no longer have predators of their own, and landscape and landscape lichen and nature recovery. I've seen firsthand the efforts that go into preserving this vital habitat, and I'm very positive about the future of it. So, if you are in any of the places I mentioned at the beginning, all those countries, and you have temperate rainforest near you, remember that they are one of the rarest habitats in the world, rarer than these chumps rainforests. So please take pride in it, support it, and the people / organisations looking after it if you can, and visit as well if you can. But remember to take photos and leave only footprints. So that is our very own rainforest.
The only thing I'd say is,
yes,
it can be a lot more emotive to have a member of the Oran Asli sort of standing there looking sad about the destruction of the rainforest, or someone from the Amazon doing the same.
Yeah,
it's very hard to have like a local Devonian farmer standing there looking sad in sort of a grayscale advert saying, you know, you don't help.
Don't rewild links; they'll kill my sheep.
It doesn't really have the same sort of PR, you know.
No, it doesn't have the same PR, which is part of the problem, I guess.
Yeah.
But
that's because people think that the habitat we've got here, which is just rolling hills of
sheep,
rolling sheep. They think that that's natural. When you go on Facebook and you go to these groups, or even on like local community groups where the pine marten reintroduction projects, they keep posting up to say, hey, if you want to get involved and have your say, the number of comments on there that say like our beautiful natural countryside
and put trees in the way.
Like, jog on, mate. That's not natural. That's a green desert. And people that think, I think stretches of Exmoor are beautiful, and I know that moorland is obviously there is an element of natural moorland, but the expanse at which we have on Exmoor, that's not supposed to be there. No. But people look at that, and that is just like they're saying that's beautiful. That's like looking at, not to be too nasty and crude, and I don't mean this in a nasty way, I don't mean to make light of it, but you don't go to like a tower that's burnt down in London and say, beautiful building. No, you say it's been burnt down. Like, that's what's out there. You don't say that that's beautiful, natural, like, environment. No, that's burnt. That's hacked and burnt. But because we think, or because our nation thinks that that's natural, you're never going to get that same emotive PR. It's going to take a lot to change people's minds on that.
Absolutely. And also with the forests themselves too. So on Exmoor, a lot of the forests themselves aren't. They're not as good as they should be, and it's because Exmoor has been cut down, replanted, cut down, replanted, cut down, replanted, and all the trees are about the same sort of age. They're all about 100, 120 years old, so they've all just grown straight,
and they're planted in grids, in squares.
In some circumstances, so they've all just planted straight, and they've all just tried to, because they're all the same age, they've all just gone straight up because they're all in competition with each other. You haven't got this dynamic balance, but that's what those NGOs and other organisations are doing, is to diversify those forests, which includes reintroductions like pine marten and things like that.
I don't know how up to date you are with the podcast listening to it, but
Yeah.
a couple weeks ago, I was saying in the news that they're going to stretch this is exactly what Drew's been talking about. They're stretching the forest from right up to the doorstep of Bristol City. Do you remember?
Yeah. I can't remember.
That's going to be good. What
Oh,
are they
nice,
calling
okay.
it? They're going to call it something. The Western Forest or the Southwestern
Nice.
Rainforest or something like that.
Probably
Yeah.
something.
But they specifically said it.
Western Superforest.
They specifically said about it being trying to rebuild the Celtic rainforest here.
Yes.
Mm.
Yeah. Well, all of that coastline should be all Celtic rainforest.
Hmm.
All of that western coastline. Anyway.
So let's head into our emails.
Bing! You've got mail. Ooh, it's an email.
Right, well, we're into our emails for this week, and we're going to look at the question that we sent out, which was, what rainforest would you most like to visit and why? You've had a choice of some of the different ones that we've talked about now, but
Well, no, they haven't because they haven't heard this yet.
that's a good point. Well, by this point in the episode, they should have.
Yeah.
So
But the people
go back in time.
the people who answered this question haven't
True.
seen it.
So anyway, time.
just admin, just unnecessary admin.
Aaron, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, so the first person to answer us was Jan Ashbridge, who said, I'd love to go to the Borneo rainforest. Really would love to see pygmy elephants. Yeah, that's a good goal. Yeah.
Kelsey Watts, it's obvious choice, but the Amazon. Well, there you go. I'd love to find some proof of ancient civilizations that had visitors from other planets and discovered something epic. I think he's been watching Indiana Jones.
Or Marvel. Thor. The whole point of Thor is that. And I guess Moon Knight as well, to an extent.
Yeah, none of them are in the Amazon though.
No, but
Sure.
right there to the Telecan, and they have their thing. Yeah, you know.
Fair enough. I would have loved to do something along the lines of Indiana Jones. There you go.
Oh, there was. Well, I'm
gonna read the rest of the comment then.
Oh, shut up!
I should have trained to be an archaeologist.
It's never too late.
No, it's never too late.
No.
Never too late. And then Abhijit Bokar, do let us know if we're not pronouncing that correctly, said Congo has been the top of my list. Congo, interestingly, or maybe not interestingly, I don't know. When I was picking my rainforest, that was my next choice. So if we do it again next year.
Because of the film, clearly.
No, you said this when I mentioned this to you. I've never seen the film. I don't want to watch the film.
I've actually not seen the film either.
No, because it was mentioned before where Gareth did a whole thing about this film that you've not seen.
Yeah.
Read the book. The book's really good.
That region is amazing. Amazing. I'll start that again. That region is amazing, and the Michael Crichton novel had a big impression on the teenage me. Yes.
Well, there you go, see?
Yeah.
Michael Crichton, what can you say?
Yeah.
He did Congo, which I hear is good, but I've not read. Jurassic Park and The Lost World, both of which are good.
You hear are good, but you've not read.
I've read those.
Good.
And Westworld, which I haven't read, but I've watched, and that's very good.
Oh, yeah, that is one of his, isn't it?
Yeah.
Did you
Wait,
watch
so
the
all of them are
original
about
film?
technology, aren't they? Yes, I did.
Yeah.
They're all about technology going wrong and the hubris of man.
Human hubris.
So our next comment comes to us from Christopher Ackerson, and he says, "Oh, he's actually put in a hum." So I didn't read that properly. So he says, either Monteverde Forest or Daintree. But if I had a time machine, I'd like to visit the North American rainforest of the Jurassic. This was difficult, but I've always wanted to see the cloud forests of Costa Rica. But the age of the Daintree is novel. In any case, I'd want to disrupt the environment as little as possible. I thought he was going to say I'd want to disrupt it, like
As much as
possible.
Well, humans are very good at that.
I've been to the cloud forests of Ecuador, but not Costa Rica.
Yeah.
I've never been to South
Which was
America.
incredible.
Spencer Seams said, since it's close to me geographically, and I haven't been to the Pacific Northwest, the Olympic National Park, also the Congo Basin, as it's beautiful.
And then Catherine Ames said Barna Line near Loch Orr to appreciate what's on just about my doorstep. No stressful travel either. Well, yeah, that's the best way of doing a rainforest, as we mentioned. If you've got one on your doorstep, like the temperate rainforest that we in the UK have, go to it.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, that's quite cool. Well, that's this week or last week's question, but this week's question that we've got for you is similar to one that we've had in the past, where we're talking about what animal or what species people dislike but you like. We've gone for what plant that others see as a weed is your favourite. So
Yes.
well, Drew, do you want to give us your thoughts?
That would spoil the next episode, wouldn't it?
Any others you want to throw in there?
Oh, I mean, dandelion. Go watch the dandelion episode as well.
Yeah, that's
Dandelions are great. Like bindweed and a lot of the what's it called? The sticky willy. Sticky willy. Yeah. Sticky willy. People don't like that.
Just because you can throw it on people, and
you can throw it at people. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Good tortoise food as well.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. There's
Tortoises like sticky willy. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Would you want to go next?
Me, I'm actually going to steal both of yours. I like the dandelion.
Yeah.
And I like it. Just looks like a burst of sunshine.
Yeah, it does.
In a sea of green. And yeah, the sticky willy. Just because I've got so many childhood memories of
sticky willy. Yeah.
Chucking it at Kelsey, chucking it at like all my other mates at school. Just a couple of weeks ago, we were chucking it at each other out in the road. So clearly haven't grown up.
No.
I'm gonna go with bracken. A lot of people don't like bracken, especially horsey people don't like bracken.
No.
Cattle farmers or anything, because it's the one plant I can always remember. There was the covering of the understory of the forest that was at the back of ours in Scotland, and it was that was pretty much most of the cover, and there was some gorse bush, which is another plant that people also don't like.
Bracken and gorse have their uses.
But yeah, it just I don't know. I've always liked ferns and fern-like plants. So it's bracken's really cool. I like it, and it adds like a layer, almost like a canopy layer below. At a really low level. So you can sort of disappear into it.
Do you remember what the microclimate of bracken? Because I mentioned it. Hi, Brian, can tell me one. Do you remember what the temperature of the microclimate of bracken is compared to the surrounding area?
It's about 2 degrees or something, isn't it? Or
do you remember?
I'm going to be honest with you. I haven't got a clue. I can't remember. No, I remember us talking about it, but I don't remember. I don't remember what it is.
Is it going to be something? I can't remember the number, but
I don't either.
Oh, okay.
I don't remember that. Go watch the episode.
Yeah, okay.
Go watch the episodes, and but it's several degrees warmer. It's at least 5, I think. I think it was. Anyway.
Well, there you go. So let us know what your favourite kind of hated weed plant is. Remember, there's no such thing as a weed. It is just a plant in a place that no one wants it. So it could be the nicest looking tropical plant in the world, but if it's in the wrong place, it's considered a weed.
It's very much the horticultural term for pest, isn't it?
Yeah, basically.
Technically, leopard is a pest.
I mean, I've got
India, so
yeah, I've got an ash tree sapling that is growing out of a drain at the front of my house. Now, I love ash trees, but I want rid of that one because it's obviously going to do damage. So that's a weed currently at the moment. But yeah, let us know your thoughts on our Facebook page or the YouTube comments, or you can send it in as an email, as we will go on to in a minute. But let's have a look at some of the YouTube comments.
Yeah,
we've got some of those.
Yes, we do. So our our only YouTube comment this week comes to us from Rose Lee 9961, who says, for this week's question of which rainforest I'd like to visit the most, I have to go with the one that Gareth kind of had dubbed the one. That being the Amazon, or just the idea of rainforest on the main continent of South America. Boto and anacondas dwell in the vast waterways, macaws and toucans fill in the soundscape, and getting the possibility to see the powerful jaguar traversing its diverse habitat with great ease. Getting to experience all of that, or at least having the possibility, would be a dream come true. Though I do have to give a shout out to the Appalachian temperate rainforest. That's cool, yeah. I've visited and vacationed in many of the states, either within the range of it or just outside of it. It would be really cool and much more feasible for me to achieve getting to visit that one. The amount of moss alone could potentially drive me wild. So slithering into the pop culture section, I'm very excited. Oh, this is because of the news article I did, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I'm very excited and so interested in what the third installment of Jurassic World Evolution franchise could bring us. I went absolutely bonkers when I saw that the pterosaurs are finally able to walk. The cargo plane-sized quets shall be cursed to constantly fly no more. Oh, yeah. I've bought and played the first two in the series, and I'm also a big fan of Planet Zoo and Prehistoric Kingdom. I even plan on having all 3 games on the same gaming laptop of mine, though I might need to update a few specs. Otherwise, with that many park building games on one computer, it's definitely going to sound like I'm starting up a helicopter anytime I load into one. You should have heard my PS3 when I got rid of that. That was like a Porsche. That was not healthy, that PlayStation. I resisted getting next gen for years after. In fact, it was you guys that convinced me to get the Xbox One.
Yeah,
because I wanted PS4, but I wouldn't get it because there was no games on it and nobody on it. And you go, just get an Xbox One and come play Ark with us.
Well, yeah.
Yeah,
and you did.
And I did, and then you guys all stopped playing Ark on and got rid of your Xboxes.
Yeah.
Moved on to PC.
Fucking waste of time that was.
Waste of time. That was about 6 years.
I've still got PTSD from some of those things. Waking up and your face destroyed, everything wiped out.
Yeah.
War crimes committed.
I know, but I'm just salty.
Yeah.
Great comment. Thank you for that one. I do like your shout out to the Appalachian temperate rainforest, because that's one that I don't think we even mentioned in passing. And
I you said, about temperate rainforest.
I was going to say, like you said, the temperate rainforests are,
but they're all important. They all differ.
Yeah.
So yeah, this episode would have been hours and hours and hours long if I'd broken it all down into each one.
But I think if it does one thing, it highlights the fact that we can come back to different rainforests.
Yeah,
absolutely,
yeah.
So that's just one of the many ways you can get in contact with us. Another way is through our emails, which, Aaron, you've got the emails.
Yeah, swapping over because of technical problems, swapping over to my phone to do these ones. So first one comes in to us from Shane Gowers, also known as Big Pumba. He says, "Hey guys, Big Pumba here. Firstly, I'd like to thank you for your kind words in the episode and well wishes to get better. I'm working on that part. To answer the question of the week regarding recently extinct species, for once, I genuinely can't pick one. I have a book at home called something like Photos of the Past, and it's all the photos of species that have gone extinct in the last 100 years or so. And I can't finish it. It makes me so sad. Most of the species in the book are birds, but also features the quagga and thylacine. So a bit of a cop-out answer, but I'd wish to see every recently extinct animal alive and well and thriving. My own question is one that does stump me a bit, and it regards species counts. I don't quite understand how they work. Take house martins as an example. I will, because I like them. How do they know they haven't counted the same animal more than once? And the range of some of these creatures is so vast. How do they know there are, say, 600 house martins in an area? Or is it sort of a well-educated guess backed with trail cams and sightings?
Yeah.
To add to this email, to say a thank you to yourselves and the community for welcoming me and my sometimes ridiculous questions and opinions on recent paleo poo pants documentaries.
Wonder which one you can
don't mince your words, Ben. Say what you really mean.
But once again, forget the Jurassic period was a thing. I'm working on a small piece of creative writing and speculative creature features on my own for everyone. And yes, the biome is a future setting, 65 million years into the future of radioactive Burnley. Just fun, as I know the community enjoyed the speculative evolution topic. So look out for that, everyone. Have a great week, and thanks again for the well wishes. Kind regards, Big Pumba. Well, you're very welcome for the well wishes.
I want to see that speculative evolution. I want to see that as a documentary.
I'm looking forward to radioactive Burnley, and in today's political environment, not so far off.
Yes, I'm not looking forward to it.
Not looking forward to the reality of it, but I'm looking forward to the speculative evolution of it. The house martins, or rather the recording counts,
recording large amounts of something.
I will admit, with birds, I do find that a bit of because I know the concepts for large mammals,
Yep.
and I know that it's applied to birds and other small animals. But I do imagine that is a feat of that. I mean, that's an incredible effort to go through. So
Yeah.
it's really cool. But you did kind of just answer your question yourself. It is well-educated guesses backed up by sightings, and these aren't just like, oh, I saw a house mine. These
Particularly
are like,
ones visiting nests, I would say.
Yes.
For something like that. So you can see which ones are visiting nests, and obviously it's quite unlikely to be duplicates.
yes.
And
So
you can-
yes.
you can usually tell
House
from a
martins
pair.
usually go back to the same nest as
yeah.
well. So if you have people actually citizen science, and we're
Yeah.
talking like not anecdotes, we're talking about
No.
actual like planned observations. If they're coming back to the nest, you'll know that you've got the pair there, or a single one.
Yeah.
So you'd be able to log that.
You're right with citizen science as well, because there is coming slightly out of house martins and going to swifts. You've got Swift Count, which I think that's what it's called, which is a website that if you see swifts, you can go on it and say, I've seen them here, and they do a count, and obviously that's an anecdotal population gauge.
Merlin and all those iNaturalist.
Yes, I don't know if that data is collated overly.
iNaturalist
the Swift Count.
is, but I think
I'm not sure about
Merlin.
Merlin. Yeah.
I think Merlin is to an extent, but
Okay.
it might be more so the American side of things because it is an American app.
Yeah.
There's actually a depressing side to that. I'm just going to check my facts on this quickly. But as technology gets better, our ability to count gets better. It facilitates more efficient count.
Yeah.
Now, if I just Google this quickly, just to double check this.
Some people are really good at guesstimating. If they see a flock of something, they're very good at guesstimating how many they've seen, because they can break it up and they can see, say, they can train themselves to see like groups of 20, and they can go 20, 20, 20, 20, 20. They are very good at that as well, so they can do a relatively accurate guesstimation of how many things they're looking at.
And I'd imagine there's probably, to an extent, with certain things like this, formulas that are used to work out the sort of plus or minus of ones that would be lost on migration, certainly for a migratory bird, and then the plus or minus of chicks that are hatched out, and the ones that make it to adulthood, plus or minus whatever the adults are there as well. So I think that would add to it as well.
If I can just, to shock horror, divert from birds to tigers for a second.
It's never been done before.
No,
he's never verged. Never verged.
I don't know, not particularly. But back along, it was well known there was 3,200 tigers in the world.
Yeah.
Okay, in the wild. In fact, there's more pet tigers in America, in the United States, than there were in the wild. There was this really famous count that a lot of people, particularly a lot of zookeepers, got very excited about. That there are now just shy of 4,000. I was just trying to Google the answer, but technology. But if memory serves, it was bumped up to 3,392. I think it's literally just shy of 4,000. A lot of people celebrated, and and everybody, as you've just demonstrated, everybody knows how keen I am on tigers, and a lot of my zookeeping friends were saying, "Aren't you excited that like the tiger population has gone up?" I said, "Well, I've got no doubt that the tiger population has increased. I don't think it's increased that much.
No.
What's happened is the technology and the methods have gotten better, so we've got a more accurate count.
Yeah.
So it's not. So sometimes there is.
The good news there is it's gone up as opposed to down.
It's gone up as opposed to go down. But sometimes you have to temper that with, like, what is our technology like today compared to what it was before? But yes, generally speaking, technology and citizen science and actual scientific observation is the way forward. So,
very good question, Larry.
Yeah, really good question. Thanks for that. And we hope that you continue to get better quickly. And that is the end of our emails.
All right. Well, there you go.
Nice.
Well, that's, like I say, that's one way you can get in contact with us. The nathistorykcupboard@gmail.com. You can also do that by becoming one of our fantastic Patreons, which we're going to tell you about now.
Every week, we like to give a little love back by shouting out the names of our wonderful Patreon supporters.
That's right. These are the cupboard dwellers who are kind enough to support us through a monetary contribution, for which we are eternally grateful and grateful beyond words.
And those people are, of course, Fogtober, Jen Greenhall, Connie P, Chelsea McKee, Nick to Nick,
Owen Cox,
and Matt Geddy.
Guys, your financial contributions are actively helping us out here in the Natural History Cupboard in a myriad of ways, including developing our new studio, planning excursions and being able to go out and film on location, considering technical upgrades, and actually making the jump from a solely audio-based podcast to the now growing YouTube channel. And we really can't thank you enough for that.
Now, we appreciate all of our cupboard dwellers and the support you offer us through listening, liking, sharing, and subscribing. But if you feel we've earned it and you're considering joining our Patreon, there are two options through which you can do so.
That's the Nature Nerds and the Animal Ambassador tiers, which you can find on the Patreon website or links through our social media as well, and each one having different benefits for you to enjoy.
And now back to Gareth and Erin in the studio.
So that's our fantastic Patreons. You guys do a huge amount to help us out and basically keep this place going and be able to get stools in here and everything. You know, that's all part of that. But that pretty much brings us to the end of this week's episode. Well, a massive thank you to you, Drew, for coming along.
Oh, you're welcome. Sorry, this is also an audio.
It's an audio.
It's an audio format as well. Yeah.
For those who are listening, Drew used two fingers to sort of swipe salute.
Yes. Yeah. You can do other salutes with two fingers.
Yeah, it was the less of.
It was a respectful salute.
Yep.
Okay.
Big thank you, Aaron.
Yeah, you're welcome. I won't do a salute other than
Ha! For those listening along at home, Aaron was doing jazz hands.
Yeah, he made a rude gesture as well.
Oh my God. So rude, neither of us knew what it was.
How dare I?
I suppose as well, I should point out, I won't be here for a while, actually. What? I know. I found where the door
This is news to us.
So I'll be disappearing for a couple of weeks and leaving you to run the ship.
What are you doing? Oh, okay.
About to hit me over the head with a hammer.
That's not a big violin. It's a smaller violin, but
Aaron, this is why you don't do music. That's a hammer, not a violin. I will be disappearing for a couple of weeks.
Not because I hit you over the head with a hammer.
Yeah, if I disappear now, it's because Aaron has hit me over the head with a hammer. Yeah, I'm off. Basically, my wife and I, we've got our second child is due imminently.
You are spawning.
Yes,
spawning. Yes,
going upriver to spawn. Yes. Anyway, so yeah, I'll be back within a couple of weeks. Although I believe I will be appearing in one or two episodes recorded ahead of time, so I'll still be in the background.
Yeah, unpaid cameos that we're not going to credit you for. But
yeah, wow. So I'll leave the cupboard in your
very capable
hands,
sensible hands,
very
for a safe and secure
whilst
community.
Whilst the teacher is away, nothing bad ever happens.
No, of course not. No. And a massive thank you to you for joining us at home, and we'll see you next time here in the Natural History Cupboard. Bye. Okay, so to disappear with, I'm going to give you a truly bad joke to finish out on. How do you make a deal in the jungle?
I don't know.
You snake on it.
That'll do.
All right, I've got one more just to really sink the ship. Why is the jungle so supportive?
I don't know.
All the trees are rooted for you. Yeah, I'm going to go now.
It's true. It's true.